is Matt De La Valle, also known as Gordon Ryan. On today's episode, if you're watching this live, he has the chain. He has the Gordon Ryan look. Gordon Ryan, for those of you who don't know who he is, he's the greatest of all time, no-gi grappler. Anyways, MDV kind of looked like him when he came on the show today. So
Gordon Ryan, I don't even think he's 30 years old yet.
no, he has to be 30.
I think
He
he's
has
around I think he's around 30, and he has had 128 wins by submission in his career already. 6 or 7-time ADCC champion, 4-time Eddie Bravo Invitational champion, and I think a 4-time another champion. It's unreal. It really, his stats, he's inarguably the GOAT, the living GOAT of a sport right now.
Yeah,
Nobody will come close.
He's legit. So today's podcast, though.
All right, let's get in.
We are talking about is soreness the sign of a good workout? That's where we're starting on today's episode. And then I do want to get into some of our standards for the Pete and Bobby challenge, and some of these kind of summer reset that we were talking about earlier. But I think to start off with, a great place to start is: do you have to be sore to? Does soreness signify a good workout? Because I think you can make the argument that for many people, over the years that I've worked with, when they're sore, they feel a sense of fulfillment, they feel a sense of accomplishment, and they feel like that got them a good workout. So I'd say for a lot of people, how sore they get is an indicator of how good their workout was. That's my kind of hot take on it. Is for many people that is a part. But I do think as your training age increases, you get less and less overly sore, and you become generally fatigued. There's a difference, I think, as your training age increases. It's hard for me to get overly sore unless I do certain things, but I get general body fatigue when I train really hard. So yeah, anyways, I don't think you have to get sore to get in a good workout. Let me just say that.
Well, we're talking about soreness in terms of essentially DOMS, delayed onset muscle soreness, DOMS. Oh my gosh, DOMS. Everybody was obsessed with DOMS for a while there in the 2010s. DOMS was everything. But I don't necessarily agree that soreness is a good indicator of a great workout. I think soreness is a good indicator of you've done something different that you haven't done before, or created some muscle damage that you haven't created before, and now your body is repairing those tears or repairing that damage. And I think that a lot of people probably confuse DOMS with I had a great workout. And I probably fell victim to that many times in the past, where I was like, oh man, I'm so sore I had such a killer workout. I probably just did something, whether it's loading, volume, intensity, new movement, that my body was not used to, and then it's repairing itself. But I don't know. Gabe, what do you got?
Man, you can take this so many different directions, which is why I kind of wanted to talk about it. My legs are pretty sore right now because I've been squatting too much, and I did a decent amount of squatting. That's actually what kind of prompted the question, because one, I think that there's diminishing returns on if you're too sore and it's impacting you getting back on the horse for another training session. Then I think we can all agree that that's pretty universally not what you're trying to get. You're trying to get as much quality work done for whatever your goal is, kind of across a week, across a month. You want consistency. And I think that because of dosing, and that's something that we've talked about in the past with a lot of people, specifically Jason, I know you've been working with DC, people that used to be athletes, have the mentality of an athlete, but haven't been in it for a while. Sometimes that soreness in the beginning can be detrimental because you go super hard one day, but it's going to impact day 2, day 3, possibly even day 4, instead of maybe taking a little bit more in the beginning and just being able to gradually step up to that. So I think that for anyone, regardless of training age or what it is that you're doing or what your goals are, you never want to be to a point where it's going to impact not just your performance in a future workout the day after or the day after that, but even just how fired you are to go and do another workout or hit it hard. If you're super sore, sometimes the last thing you want to do is get out there and get after it again. And I think that specifically for people that already took the big step to okay, I'm going to try and build some momentum again, I'm going to try and go. The worst thing that can happen is that you're so sore that you're like, man, how do you do this again? And then you fall into this really bad cycle of then you wait too long again to go work out, and then again you're sore because you waited so long, and then you just kind of do that a couple times until a lot of people like kind of throw their hands up and they're like, well, this kind of isn't worth it. So I think that's where soreness isn't great. I do think that specifically for hypertrophy training, like what we do in flex, you do want to feel like the body parts that you worked. And usually what I tell people, like when I'm having just conversations on Instagram or, answering any questions that come through emails, I like telling people that you should feel a like 2 to 3, 4 out of 10 max in terms of like soreness from any given hypertrophy section. That's what I think is the sweet spot where like if you did chest yesterday, you should feel something the day after as if it
would
worked.
you call that general fatigue? Like I was saying,
So
you know what I'm saying? Like
so when you said like general fatigue, I think more of like motivation to train, the grip strength stuff, like
overall,
am I trying to get out? Like how just like energetic am I? Like how ready am I to really go run through a brick wall? That's what I think about general fatigue. Soreness, I literally think like when I do this with my arm, do I feel something in my chest? Do I feel like, like even just touching here, okay, like that's tender. It wasn't tender yesterday, but it's tender now. It's
the
not
touch test.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
It's not like painful to the point where I literally can't open my arms or can't sit down or can't stand up. But if you like literally the touch test, like if you're kind of like prodding around, does it feel like the body part that I worked out yesterday got worked out or not? And I do think that is an indicator of what I think a lot of people do miss, which is getting the appropriate stimulus to actually get muscle growth. But that shouldn't be like debilitating soreness, but I think you should feel something. There should be some sensation that like, hey, that did something yesterday.
We kind of had that old adage back in the day where it was, you get somebody new coming into the gym and they're going to do a workout that they've never done before. And a lot of times you saw athletes, especially in like the CrossFit, GPP, functional training environment, they're going to do something like an AMRAP 20 with a whole lot of reps in there. They probably need to adjust that type of workout down if they've never done anything like that before, because the next day or the day after that, they're going to be so sore from that they can't move. And that's not an indicator that was a good workout for that person. That's probably an indicator that person that day, that was too much for them. You don't want to get to the point where like you're free falling to the toilet and you can't touch, you can't put your hands on your legs. And we've all been there before, man. I did 100 back squats at my body weight a couple of years back, and that was 100 unbroken back squats at my body weight. And that was the worst soreness I have ever had in my life in terms of fitness. But I had other exposures to soreness like that across many, many years of training. So it didn't send me to the hospital. I wasn't pissing Coca-Cola, rhabdo wasn't there. It was just, my body was jammed up for a bunch of days, and I couldn't train hard, nor could I train even light when I felt like that. I was messed up.
I do think there's something to be said though, because if the question is soreness the sign of a good workout? I don't necessarily think so when I talk about general fatigue, for me, it's primarily in my legs. Like when I wake up in the morning, I'm walking down the stairs, I'm asking myself, like, it's not really soreness, it's fatigue. Do they feel heavy? And like, cause in general, I'm pretty excited to train almost all the time. But what does start to tax me, in particular, my legs, this doesn't really happen in my upper body, is I'll feel some general fatigue. Like on Saturday, the men's club did sled pushes and also sprints using a band. And waking up Sunday and Monday, I felt those things as general fatigue, but not soreness. But I do think I think soreness for especially beginners, some moderate soreness it actually keeps them on the path. I actually think they enjoy that. They feel like they got work done. There's just a fine line between moderate soreness and like feeling like you did something and too much and then getting, unmotivated because you can't move. And that's really there's a fine line there, because I do think a little bit, like you're saying, like a little bit to the touch, a little bit of movement, like feeling like you did something, I think is important. An important sign of a good workout.
Well, I mean, if the question is just a yes or no answer. So if it's just going to say, hey, is soreness is a strong indication of a good workout? My answer is undeniably no. I can't answer yes to say if that's the question.
Yeah.
If we're gonna start to nuance it a little bit more, we're gonna say, hey, if you're feeling like a little bit, tired the next day and you feel like you got after something the day before, yeah, of course that's a good indicator. But if we're talking just DOMs and you're talking about soreness in general, I would say the better indicator of a great workout is just overall your effort in the workout. Did you get to, Gabe has been really good at this, did you get to failure sets in your, hypertrophy training? Did you push your cardio intervals to the point where you're in the RPE range that we want to see? And then regardless of what you feel kind of the next day, as long as it's not overboard where you can't move and you're crippled and you're just laying there on the couch, I think the best indicator of your best workout is like, how are you feeling before, during, and after that immediate stimulus? That's in my opinion.
Yeah.
I think that another part of it too is, and I forget where I saw this the first time, and I tend to subscribe to this kind of like training philosophy. Like a lot of DOMs also tends to be more of an indicator of poor recovery than an actual good workout. So there's a lot of people that are doing the right thing in the gym, but then just aren't fueling appropriately, sleeping appropriately, down regulating appropriately, and they're going to be more susceptible to being sore from the same exact thing versus the person that does exactly the same quote unquote effort in the workout, but is doing the nutrition, the recovery, the sleep. They're going to be less sore from the same effort. Does that mean that they got less of a workout? Absolutely not. That actually means that they're doing the things to then create the adaptation from the stimulus. They're not going to be as sore the next day. The person that didn't do all the recovery things might be like, hey, I got a great workout. I can't lift my arms. Exactly. But actually, you just didn't do the things to recover appropriately. So I do think that there's a little bit of that, or maybe a lot of that, not 100% of the time, but I think that that plays a key role too, because you don't necessarily want to feel completely trashed by your workouts.
Or the fact that you haven't been consistent enough with your training, right? You haven't been consistent enough with your training. You jump into a workout once every 10 days, and then on day 11, 12, 13, 14, you're so sore you can't move. I mean, that's not a good indicator of a great approach to training, in my opinion.
Yeah, the hydration becomes, I think, the biggest key. I think that if you're going out there and you're crushing it and you're not hydrating well enough, at least for me, based on my experience, that's probably the number one thing is keeping movement going, like moving,
carbs,
and hydrating.
Carbs.
Yeah,
and
I don't know if it's hydration.
Dude, I think for me, that's for me.
That's old school, bro.
For carbs too. Like
I'm not saying hydration doesn't matter at all. I'm just saying that.
Yeah, I've increased the number of carbs, which has been helpful. In particular, pre-workout for sure. It's been nice to add. I've been doing that for a while now, and that's been pretty good. But the hydration for me and the recovery is key, especially like at the men's club. I have to be really careful to talk about this stuff because you have guys who, yeah, during the week, many of them are using our training programs, but not all of them. Some of them only show up once a week to work out. And dude, if they do our workout and they haven't worked out all week, like we have to be careful to have them adjust down because they'll just be wrecked. And then they're wrecked for 5 days. They come back and they get wrecked again for 5 days and they come back. And that's not what we want from any of those guys.
Yeah. If any of those guys are listening, man, you guys need to jump onto the Train Hard app ASAP and jump into one of the programs, whether it's Train Hard Daily, Flex, or NT4BS. You do 2 or 3 of those workouts a week, plus your Saturday workout with Jason at the men's club. I think you're going to feel a whole world better. And, that would be my recommendation to anybody who's out there right now. Like get three good touches in a week. Get some walks in on the days that you're not really training, or even the days that you are training. And just don't leave it to that one time a week kind of zero-sum game type of deal. It's not the way to go.
No, we got Jocko. Jocko sent out some protein for all the guys that go to get coffee after. So that's been cool because we grab coffee and then we like mix it with protein. And so that's been cool because they're getting some recovery right after the workout. But I've been telling some of the stories about the men's club on my Instagram. If you guys haven't seen that, make sure you check that out. We will continue to do more of those. There's so many incredible stories happening at the men's club, and I'm going to do a better job of sharing those because, yeah.
Yeah, we got some cool men's club workouts in our back pocket that one day we might put out there too. We got a whole bunch of good sandbag, dumbbell, or plate workouts that I think we can distribute out there some way, somehow, that Jason will be talking about at some point, and get people around the country doing these things. Gabe didn't like that idea, so he hopped off.
Dude, hey, look at that. You could see in my eye. Can you see that I got punched in the eye?
You got punched during your
No, not even. No, Caden punched me in the eye when we were grappling.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah. It's funny. I wasn't able to see it, but now with the lights on, yeah, I got a little. What's up, Gabe? I got a little snagged by the guy.
Gabe's back. That's the one thing. I've been talking the last couple of weeks about getting back into jiu-jitsu, and it kind of relates to the soreness. That relates to the soreness conversation here, because I think the first few days that I get back into jiu-jitsu, and after slowly ramping up and getting back into live rolls, I think my body is going to be feeling a little bit different. Yeah, a little bit different. I think the overall fatigue from something like that, something so dynamic, it's all consuming mentally, physically, emotionally when you're doing those rounds. And that's what makes it so fulfilling to stick with it over the years, is that it's hard. It's hard every day to wake up and go into the gym, whether it's the training gym or the jiu-jitsu gym. It's hard. I can relate definitely to this with people who might be feeling a little hesitation about going to the gym today. I feel a little hesitation about going back to jiu-jitsu. It's a little scary.
Yeah, I had a buddy of mine. He asked for a referral for jiu-jitsu, and I said, "Hey, why now? Why are you doing this? Like, dude, we've been friends for years." He goes, "Honestly, Jason, it's because anytime that you put out content after jiu-jitsu, you never look more tired than when you're done with jiu-jitsu, and I want to know what that feels like." And I was like,
"That's true."
Huh. I was like, "Okay, that's interesting." But out of all reasons, like that one threw me off, right? Because this dude's in good shape too.
There's a couple of things I think that are akin to feeling that level of fatigue. If you're underwater, literally, if you're underwater and you're out of breath, like if you've ever surfed big waves or if you've ever swam, that is a terrible feeling where you can't catch your breath and you're underwater. And jiu-jitsu sometimes feels like you can't catch your breath and you're underwater.
There was a girl at water polo. So this last weekend I'm in Hollister, and there's this girl, super talented girl, and she's right in front of me. So the way the water polo works is like you could be really close to the pool and you're watching the action, and Ava's playing goalie, so I'm like right there. And there's a girl that's like right in front. I don't know the name of the position, but her and this other girl are kind of like going at it pretty hard, like both being very, very aggressive, very competitive. And I'm watching it as the game progresses. And then at one point, one of the girls trying to swim from our team, the other girl grabs her swim cap and bathing suit and pulls her backward underwater. And I'm watching it happen, right? And so she's under for, I don't know, 5 seconds, whatever it is. She ends up getting up. This girl was like physically, mentally distraught. Like she gets out of the pool, she's in tears because it was just so, dude, could you imagine like you and this girl are battling all game. You're already fatigued, and then she pulls you under. But back to your point about like, that's an example of like an extreme case where like that's frightening, But then she got back in the pool after a quarter and she kicked ass.
Water polo is a sneaky, dirty sport.
Dude.
A very sneaky, dirty sport. I think a lot of people might think of water polo and think of like, very just like polite, passing the ball above water, kind of dribbling it down the pool with your arm. There's a lot of stuff that happens underwater in like high level water polo matches that is probably akin to more like a rugby scrub. What are those called?
A
scrum than anything else.
Yeah. You're on mute if you're talking.
Gabe, you're on mute.
This guy. His microphone might not be working now that he went offline. Now he's coming back. Look at but no, the water polo has been really it has been very eye-opening for me. Actually, I was telling a friend of mine, his son plays competitive hockey and his daughter does like dance and stuff like that. And I told him, I was like, dude, I want to go out to these events because I feel like there will be no other time that I'll ever get exposure to some of these sports than when my friends' kids are doing them. So I might as well go see what they're like. Like I had never experienced water polo until my daughter started playing it. And I don't, what else have I not seen that would be cool just to experience? Like I've never watched a youth hockey game. Have you? Like that'd be cool. Like, I don't know. And what can I learn from that? Maybe I could pick something up, or maybe I bring Caden with me and he gets interested in it. Who knows, So that's kind of where I'm at on that.
Yeah, it's cool. It's cool to see. I think some of these sports, some of these non-mainstream sports, honestly, water polo is not a mainstream sport. I think
No.
hockey is kind of like on the fringe of being like a mainstream youth sport. It takes a lot of resources and a specific set of equipment to play things like hockey and water polo, and I think that's why the access to those sports, there's obviously facility barriers and socioeconomic barriers to some of these things, but they're cool sports for
Yeah.
sure, and they have there's levels to everything, as we've
Well, I mean, in
discussed.
weather too, like that's why I think, hockey or just like looking at like lacrosse is pretty big on the East Coast, whereas other sports are bigger on the West Coast. And, anyways, that's just been something that I've personally, um,
We
I
got
don't know what
Gabe's
Gabe's
audio
doing.
back. I can hear it.
I don't know what Gabe's doing, but Gabe's like back and
Um,
forth on
let's
this.
talk a little bit while Gabe's doing his in and out here about this Craig Jones Invitational that happened over this past
Oh,
weekend. So, just really quickly for the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu fans out there was a pretty big event this past weekend. It's called the Craig Jones Invitational, and this was the second time that it was run. It was run in Las Vegas over the course of Saturday and Sunday. They have a very unique arena for this in terms of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, where they have banked walls as
which
opposed to
the
being
UFC,
flat.
I think, ended up copying, right?
So there's I don't know if Craig Jones is going to sue them over the design of the octagon that's changed for the jiu-jitsu and the UFC, but Craig Jones, I believe, plus the people who created that mat system have filed for a patent around how the ring is shaped, because it's shaped with that banked wall, so you can take the jiu-jitsu all the way up the wall as opposed to being stuck off the side of a mat, which is brilliant. Um, but some big prizes handed out. And then on the ladies' side, a very young woman, Helena Carver, who's been an up-and-coming athlete in jiu-jitsu, I won by submission in the women's final, which was
I think
kind of
did
crazy.
she win $100,000,
She won 100 grand,
which
and
I think is the
I think she's
most
like 17 or 18 years old.
which I think is the most any woman has ever won in the sport of grappling. I could be wrong about that, but I'm pretty sure.
I mean, it has to be.
Uh,
It probably
and
has to be the best prize ever.
which is awesome to see some money. But I didn't follow CGI as closely as maybe you did or others did, but I was more excited for last year because last year was like a normal competition. It's like one on one. You knew who was fighting. This year was a little bit weird because they did it as teams, and I couldn't follow it as well. And it was hard for me to follow. But what I do know is that at the end, it was one team against another team. They ended up tying, and then the money went to the team that Craig, who's the organizer, is like a part of or was a part of. And there was some controversy, and so then another million went to the other
Yeah.
team. So but dude, either way, those fighters, I don't know how many, like 6 on a team.
5 or 6 on a team. They're getting
Dude,
a
they got $1
significant
million.
amount of money.
That was great.
Yeah, that's a lot of money. So the prize purse for the team competition was $1 million for the team that won, and it ended up being the B team versus
Was it New Wave?
New Wave, which is kind of the main rivalry in jiu-jitsu for a long time. And the B team, which is Craig Jones's former team, won the $1 million via a controversial decision. And then I guess Craig Jones got hit up on Instagram about 1 billion times, and they gave prize money to the New Wave team as well. So another $1 million announced over Instagram, and Craig Jones says, "Don't DM him ever again."
Dude, Gabe, can you hear well, you're on mute, but I don't know. So Gabe's having technical difficulty, but he still looks extremely good. But the CGI, I think the part that was interesting for me was that, like, how sustainable is it for the future? But at the end of the day, man, like, bro, he got eyeballs on it. He's putting out more money than anybody else in the sport of jiu-jitsu,
Yeah.
and you know, which is
I
great.
mean, I would like to see. I didn't know that they didn't do a men's individual. They didn't do a men's individual this year.
No,
There was a women's individual, but there was
I
no
think it was a
men's.
team event for the men and then a
Yeah.
women's individual. That's what I think it was.
Dude, I would rather see them do men and women's individual comp all the way up to a single winner, and then maybe do a team comp on another day. Yeah, the lessons also learned from the CrossFit years of competition, man. The team comps are great, but they just don't bring the same kind of energy that you have when you're doing a one-on-one competition.
Yeah, but you know what I think is interesting about this in particular, like from a business case, is that it's never been done before. Now Craig and they did this team, and now they could decide, hey, you know what, that model. It's kind of like when CrossFit did. Remember, like the Team USA versus like other teams. There was momentum, but it it ended up going for, I don't know, maybe 5 years, and now it's not there anymore because the sponsors didn't come in for it. But I think that this is a great example of like, dude, you don't know unless you try. He tried it. Will they do that again like that? I would assume not. I think they're probably going to go back to individual. I could be wrong.
Craig Jones is a very interesting person. He is a fantastic promoter, both of his own personal brand and then also the invitation. He's doing a fantastic job promoting the sport of jiu-jitsu, bringing money in, elevating the athletes, putting money in the pockets of the athletes, which is really cool. And to switch from being, I mean, Craig Jones was arguably the second best jiu-jitsu athlete in the world, probably still is. And to switch from being an athlete to a promoter pretty easy. Who's better than Craig Jones right now?
I mean, I would say
Mason?
Nicky Rod, Gordon Ryan. Yeah.
The top, who are the top five? We have got Gordon Ryan, Nicky Rod, Mason Fowler, Giancarlo Bondoni, and maybe Craig Jones in there, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously it's very subjective, right? But nonetheless, I think CJI, it was interesting to watch. It got some great like social presence, and it probably drew some more eyes to the sport of jiu-jitsu. So for that, I mean, it's awesome, dude. I mean, obviously that's great. Gabe, are you finally back, or are you just going to call this one a day?
I think I'm back, but I'm on the computer mic, unfortunately.
Oh, look at that computer mic. Audio is
probably not ideal.
It's okay. I just hear your fan in the background because it's probably. How hot is it in Texas right now?
The age-old question. I don't know. Probably high 90s. Dude, it needs to cool down. I was just thinking about this. So my half Ironman is in a month, and when I signed up for it, it was October in Texas. I was like, October. It's got to be cooler by October, but it's October 5th. We're literally 4 weeks away, and the highs are still in like the high 90s. And the last thing I want to do is get to that half marathon run, which is probably going to be around, probably starting that around 10:30. So if it's still this hot, it's going to make for a tough race.
But you'll be able to cool off in the water, right?
Yeah, but you start the swim, then you're on the bike.
I know, I'm joking. I mean, you're going to be
the run, the worst part.
You're going to be like 2 hours in. Wait, because how long? You'll be a couple hours in before you even start the run, right? Like about 3 hours in?
Hopefully exactly 3 hours. Yeah, 30-minute swim-ish, 2.5-minute bike-ish. Race starts at 7:30, so probably 10:30, 11 running. I'm hoping it cools down, man, but it's still hot.
So what about the safety factors, though? I mean, not bringing it, kind of, do they let you know ahead of time, like, hey, if the water temperature is this, if the temperature outside is this, like, we will not do this event? Is that, like, clearly stated?
Yeah, I mean, they brought this up big time when the tragedy happened in the CrossFit Games last year because, who puts the most athletes in the water? It's triathlon. It's the sport of triathlon has the most people going in. And there are, unfortunately, I think like 2 to 5 drownings per year just because of the number of athletes they're putting through. But there are a lot of guardrails put in place. That's where, because one thing that the CrossFit Games didn't do, like you need a bright colored cap. Like everyone has to wear the assigned cap so you can actually see people. There's lifeguards everywhere. They're obviously keeping close count via timing chips, athletes going in and athletes coming out. The new thing that they do in the Ironman races too is they self-seed, which is a recent change. So in the past, it used to be that they used to put age groups in at a time. So like the entire 30 to 35 age group would go in a wave. But now they let you self-seed so that faster swimmers go in the water first, regardless of your age. And then if you're a little bit on the slower side or less comfortable with the water, you can wait until kind of everyone goes and you can go towards the back. And it's been really helpful in not having a bunch of really fast swimmers like overtaking people that are uncomfortable in the water. Because that used to be pretty sketchy because then you're like, literally plowing through people that
you're almost like playing water polo in the like
exactly.
You know what I mean? Yeah.
Yeah. So now
but then let me ask you this. So for the triathlon though, let's just say it's you and me. and you're obviously you're a faster swimmer than me. Let's just say we're in the same age bracket. If I decide to go, let's just say, I don't know, at this swim rate, like I don't know if they give you like a number. It's almost like when you're running like a half marathon, like on the land, right? And they kind of like line you up based on like your mile time assumption, you know? But then my chip time is when I start the finish. So
Exactly.
is it really irrelevant when you start the swim, other than the fact that if you want to break out in front, because you get what I'm saying? Like for you, if it doesn't matter where you finish compared to everybody else, it just matters what your time is total.
Yeah. So like in the past, when I used to be really into it, like it's funny because they used to put your age on your calf, right? And since you were going out with your entire age group, because I was on the competitive side, like anytime someone passed you or you passed them, you would kind of look at their calf and be like, oh, they're in my age group. I either passed someone that I'm trying to beat or they passed me. Now you can't really lean on that at all because people will start wherever they start based on the self-seeding. It's really, you're basically going out and running your own race with a bunch of people.
That's really interesting.
Yeah. But
I
there
can see how
are,
that's more safe though, because I could see
100%.
how like if you have a slower swimmer in like, let's just say that even like the 25 to 30 bracket, right? If you have a slower swimmer and they're getting like not trampled, but like, you know what I mean? And it probably causes people behind to have to like navigate around. It's probably a mess. So yeah, that's good.
dude, super sketchy. And I remember the water temperature at the CrossFit Games, just to give you some numbers, was in the upper 80s, which is like very, very hot. Anything over 76 degrees in any USA triathlon sanctioned event, they don't let you wear wetsuits. And like that in itself is kind of like okay, that's pretty warm, and like we should be vigilant of that. So it just gives you an idea of how warm the water was at the CrossFit Games. It was one thing that stood out to me when I remember seeing the number, because you never see bodies of water that's going to host a competitive race in the 80s. That's super, super warm.
What was the water temperature at the CrossFit Games last year?
It was like 80.
I know it was in the 80s. I can look it up.
Holy crap.
Yeah, I mean,
It was like 80 something.
80
you know.
degree, dude, 80 degree water.
It's a bathtub.
A hot tub.
After
Yeah.
running a, what did they run, a 10K or a 5K max
No, it was like
effort?
it was like a 5K, I think.
Dude, can you imagine running a max effort 5K and then getting into 80 degree water and trying to swim as hard as you can? Holy
Yeah, well, and then I think you
moly,
finished
bro.
with the. Didn't you finish with the run too, or I don't remember.
No, they
But
finished with the
No.
swim last year.
It was a
just-
swim.
yeah.
But Gabe, do the organizers in the Ironman say that if the temperature is over 100 degrees, is the event canceled?
Water temperature will never be over 100 degrees.
No,
but-
I mean outdoor temperature. Like
Oh, outdoor? That I'm not sure of. But I don't think so, though, because the World Championship in Kona is insanely hot, and they still run the event. So I don't think that there's like a limit to like what the outdoor temperature is. That's just kind of a part of the event. But the thing is, like, the real safety issue is in the water, because you cramp up on the bike, you stop
You can
riding
get
your
off the
bike.
bike.
There's medical, people everywhere. Everyone's watching. They can, get you water and all that. The problem is something happening in the water, right? Like that's where you get into really, really sketchy territory. So yeah, the lake water was 87 degrees.
Yo, 87 degrees?
Yeah. According
That's
to a
like-
credible
that's like a
report, lake
tepid
water
hot
was
tub.
around 87 degrees at the time of the event. That's
That's
so
crazy.
hot.
That's crazy.
So it says USA Swimming or World Triathlon typically call for cancellation or adjustment, so they'll eliminate the swim if the water temperature exceeds 85 degrees.
okay, so then they'll just cancel the swim and then just make it into a bike run or whatever
Yeah.
it is.
Which unfortunately for someone that is a good swimmer happens pretty common. Like they don't cancel the whole race, but I've had a couple races where they either shorten the swim or they cancel the swim altogether. When I did the race in London, which was a huge deal, right? Because I was like the world championship. I went, I had like my USA kit and everything. They adjusted the swim. They made it half as long. That's because of how cold it was. Usually and it's not even so much about the water temperature, it's what's the difference between the water temperature and the air temperature. If that delta is too much, because it's not so much about how cold the water is, it's about how cold the air is when you come out of the water. That's a safety precaution.
Are they like afraid of like some type of shock or something like that? Like,
Yeah, it's
right?
you're going on the bike right after. So if you're wet and it's cold and then you're getting hit by all that wind, like that actually puts athletes in the most dangerous you could get because of cold temperature would be that.
Oh, because of cold, coming from hot to cold. Interesting. Well, the other thing with the CrossFit Games last year was the fact that they chose to put the swim second, which
they wanted to switch it up compared to like the normal, route. But yeah,
no, that's a ridiculous position to take for so many reasons.
There's a reason why everybody puts the swim first, right?
Yeah, of course there's a reason.
What Gabe's saying is that that's the largest area, I guess. I mean, there's no I guess. Like that's probably the largest area for like a catastrophic issue, right? Like,
well, yes, and then you want to have the athletes freshest
yeah,
for that portion where they're literally cannot put their feet on the ground. Yeah, that's a big deal. I didn't know the water temperature was close to 90 degrees that
87.
day. That's horribly hot water.
Yeah, that's a lot.
Jump into after running a 5K.
And it's one of those things where you say that number, and for a lot of people like that don't appreciate the difference between water temperature and air temperature, like 87, like I don't know what the equivalent would be to like running outside and for the air temperature to be, but that is so hot to be competitively swimming. To give people like an idea, like most swimming pools, like what you jump into to like comfortably swim, like if you just go to a lap pool,
like 80,
usually,
right?
No, they're usually kept in the 70s.
Like, yeah, because like the pool you're swimming in right now to prepare is like what, probably high 70s?
Probably high 70s. Yeah, it's an outdoor pool and like it gets pretty hot here. So maybe it's a little warm for my liking. So it might be low 80s, but it's still probably in the 70s for sure. And it's like warmer than I would like it to be.
How many people are competing in the Ironman?
Man, a lot. I don't know. That's a good question. That's a good question. Let's see.
Like hundreds or thousands?
No, thousands. These events are huge, man. Ironman did such a good job. Ironman did a really good job because it branded the Ironman race, right? Like this like holy grail of triathlon that's incredibly long. It's a 2.4 mile bike, 112 mile bike ride, and a full marathon. But then it made this 70.3 race, which is half the distance, but still has the Ironman name. So from a marketing standpoint, they did such a good job because this race is so much more doable for the average person. It's still very long. It's, going to be a 5 to 10 hour race for a lot of people, but it's, pretty attainable, but it still has the Ironman like marketing and logo associated to it. So it's a really big, I mean, I'm not diminishing the accomplishment by any means, but it just makes something that was propped up to be this incredible achievement and gives it a little bit more of an achievable version for most people. So they get crazy participation. There's multiple races like almost every weekend during the season. It's all over the world. It's crazy.
Dude, just kind of walking around the neighborhood here this weekend in Oceanside. Oceanside's a very active community. We had a pier swim this weekend. I was telling the guys they have a famous pier here in Oceanside. It was really big waves for it. A lot of people got messed up. But I had about 10 to 15 people this weekend ask me if I was doing the High Rocks race that was coming up.
What's
Big
up?
High Rocks guy.
Big
which
High
one?
Rocks. I have no idea. I guess there's a High Rocks race coming up. Did one just get announced, or is there one?
Registration opens tomorrow for one in Anaheim.
That's the one, I guess. That's the one. I mean, it's the buzz of the neighborhood around here, man. Everybody who does fitness is like, because there's run clubs now.
Are you signing up for it, dude? The Anaheim's right in your backyard.
I don't think my ankle can handle the multiple 1,000 meters of running right now. I did my first running workout the other day where I ran for like 10 minutes total, and it felt good. But no, my ankle's not ready for something like that just yet.
Gabe, is it 8K or 10K?
What? High Rocks?
The High Rocks.
It's 8K if you don't count any of the rock zone running. It ends up being longer. You're doing 8K in the laps.
Okay, 8K in the laps. Yeah, I mean, dude, we're Ash and I were locked in, and so are 4 other couples. So there's gonna be 10 of us total. 5 couples, plus Ash and I are doing High Rocks Anaheim. So yeah, I could not be. I'm ecstatic about that one. I can't. Again, if you had told me a year ago Ava would be playing water polo, I would have been no. And then if someone told me Ash was going to do a high rocks with me, I would have been like, no. But never say never, man. Never say never. I'm telling you.
It's time to get those tattoos after you guys get the high rocks under your belt. That's the next level.
It's funny. Speaking of the tattoos, talk about branding, dude. Iron Man has branded so well that, you know, people get the Iron Man tattoo on their calf. It's pretty common.
Gabe, do you have an Iron Man tattoo? Don't you have a triathlon?
I don't have an Iron Man tattoo, but yeah, the first tattoo I ever got it's actually the USA Triathlon logo on my arm. Yeah.
That's cool.
Very common to see people who have wrestled for USA Wrestling have the wrestling tattoo. Very common for people who have been Olympians to have the Olympic tattoo. And then, the Iron Man tattoo is a pretty common one.
Yeah, dude. I mean, like, if I had gone to the Olympics, I would have for sure gotten the rings, for sure. There was a dude at the jiu-jitsu, at Master Worlds, there's this dude, and he's in my bracket, right? And I walk up to him, and he's got the Olympic tattoo on his neck. And I'm like, I look at him, I was like, judo? He's like, yeah.
That's a bad indicator.
I'm like, all right. If I go against this guy, I'm definitely pulling guard. Like,
yeah, if you ever see somebody on the street and they got the real bad cauliflower ears and they're walking a little like maybe bow-legged and wide, and then they got the belly to back suplex tattoo on their left shoulder, you should just walk the other way and not get into a conflict with this person. You're done. You're cooked.
You're cooked. But no, Ash and I are not getting high rocks tattoos. But maybe while we're down there, she's been waiting to get her first tattoo, so maybe that'll happen. But no,
I'll do a tattoo episode at some point.
Yeah.
Can one of you explain to me the bow-legged thing? Because I've noticed that too. What's with the bow-legged like combat fighters?
I think it's like a wrestling thing. I think the stance for wrestling is pretty kind of hunched over a little bit, like low. I think that there's a specific way that you see just wrestlers or grapplers kind of move around. But it's actually, I think, less common now than it used to be back in the day when it was, mostly just kind of folk style wrestling or Greco style wrestling. Now you have jiu-jitsu athletes who, the 10th Planet system is kind of famous for jiu-jitsu athletes who look like book nerds, right? Or like anime. And then there are these like kind of secret closet killers. Yeah, these crazy killers that will choke you with their toes.
Yeah.
It's very interesting.
Like Lex Friedman. So I want a hot take from both of you on this video that I saw. So I sent it to Liz, so hopefully she'll pull it up. This is McPhee. I forget his first name. He goes by the name of Shrek. He's been on a bunch of podcasts. He's like an ex special forces guy.
He was at Heidi and Spencer. No,
I don't know.
Somebody else.
No. So he was at BJJ Worlds and put out this video.
Oh, I know.
This guy is. Yeah, he's like Heidi.
Okay, so he got disqualified for this quote unquote slam. Joe Rogan with the comment that was not a slam. Curious your guys' take. And what's the rule here? Like, what are you allowed or not allowed to do? It's about to happen, so he's about to do it. So he clearly picks him up here. So he got disqualified.
No,
for that.
That's not a slam.
No, that?
Yeah.
That was not a slam.
That's not a slam at all.
Interesting.
That's not a slam at all. That he was gently trying to break that guy's, whether it was grip or his he lowered him onto the ground pretty under control, man.
So he got disqualified for that. And again, the reason he was sharing the video was saying like, you guys be the judge. Also, this guy playing it off like he got absolutely slammed on the ground. Anyway, I was just curious your guys' take. And what's the rule there?
For people who are not watching this, the gentleman, he was in the other guy's closed guard, right? Like what we talked about on last week's episode. That was the position. And then he stood up and the guy came up with him. So he's basically like in his lap, more or less. And it looked like maybe the guy was going for some type of arm bar or something like that. He had his sleeve. He must have had something. And so to break it, you could step out of it. But typically, if you're looking for a slam, there'll be like an engagement up and an engagement down. So like the hip will open up and then create force down.
Is that like the rule anywhere?
I just shared a video with Liz as well, and maybe we can pull that one up. This was a buddy.
You talking about the one where the other slam, the
buggy choke at ADCC slam?
No, I didn't see that one. But I don't know, Gabe. We'd have to look up the exact rules. It's very subjective, and the referees, like dude, like, they, a lot of them, they it's very subjective, right? And they're watching this and they're trying to look out for the fighters. But I would say in that one, it's clearly like, look at this one. This is a buggy. Oh, oh.
That's a slam.
He also landed head first.
That's my buddy Jordan Macy, who is a brown belt at 10th Planet. He's lucky he didn't get permanently hurt by that. I trained with Jordan Macy. What an animal this kid is, by the way. I trained with him at 10th Planet Portland. He's a fantastically talented grappler, the nicest guy in the world, works his ass off. He worked for FedEx for a long time, just doing the normal grind. And he got slammed so hard by that kid who was trying to, because he had a buggy choke on him, and that kid's trying to break the grip of the choke, and he almost broke my buddy's neck. It's crazy.
Is there any case to be made here? And I'm curious your guys' take as someone that's outside the sport, for like the risk reward of getting into competing in this just not being worth it.
Yeah.
When like
100%.
But
Dude.
like at all levels, at like a specific level, just because I think that unintentionally or not,
It's such a good
you just
concept.
like, dude, people get caught up in their head, get caught up in like the fire of the moment. I'm not
Yeah, but
defending,
because
whoever
playing
did that
devil's advocate,
specifically, but-
right? As a guy who's competed in jiu-jitsu quite a few times, like playing devil's advocate, like I am, and this is where I've had to reflect on it a lot. I am putting myself in that position. So like the guy that got there's certain slams that like there's exceptions to the rule, right? Where it was like a blatantly obvious, like, hey man, that was uncalled for. But like take for example the one that you just showed us with the gis on, that was not a slam in my
That's
opinion.
not a slam at all. That's a valid break of that guy's grips for sure.
100%. I think if you ask 100 people, 98 of them would probably say that who are in the jiu-jitsu space. But Gabe, you bring up a really interesting point. Like I was actually having a conversation about this morning with Danny, my friend and neighbor, about my desire to compete in jiu-jitsu in the future. And I think that, now that I'm at the level that I'm at, I've kind of decided that I need to be sensitive about the next time I compete in jiu-jitsu. I don't know when the next time I'll compete in jiu-jitsu is, because you have to be prepared to get in these positions. And the slam is just one example, Gabe. I mean, dude, we're talking knee bars, ankles, you name it. The slam is a example. And I think that if you're not prepared to like jeopardize your body in some way, shape, or form, you probably shouldn't be competing, especially not at the higher levels, because that's what it requires.
I would love to do a full episode on this, and maybe even the next time we record, have somebody on,
Mason.
like Mason on, because I think that this is an issue not only in jiu-jitsu, it's an issue in functional training and CrossFit too, dude. You have people who are, I'm not trying to discourage anybody from chasing their dreams of being a top X, Y, or Z. And I think the stakes are higher in competing in something like a combat sport for sure. But you have to make a tremendous amount of sacrifice to compete at these highest levels. You have to give up a lot of your everyday life. You have to make sacrifices. You have to spend a lot of time training. And Jason, you know this from your days training towards the CrossFit Games. It puts a lot of strain on your life outside of the competition. That's one aspect of it. The other aspect of it is you're out there now on a competition floor competing for prize money or a title, and all bets are off. For all intents and purposes, all bets are off. When you're in a competition, at least my mindset on it is like, you're out there to win within the rule set. You're out there to win within the rule set. You shouldn't cheat. You shouldn't do anything dirty. But if the judge is allowing some stuff to happen that you get reps for, or like you see this judge as being like a little bit fast to award a tap on a certain kind of submission, bro, that's within the rules to go out there and get after it. And also in jiu-jitsu, you got to be ready and willing to apply a submission really fast. When a moment arises and you see the limb is exposed and you're going to break it, you break it. That's what happens in jiu-jitsu competitions, especially at the highest level. We're not talking about like intramural jiu-jitsu at your local rec center. You're talking about ADCC finals, Craig Jones Invitational, Master Worlds, IJ, BJJF, whatever it is. I have strong opinions on this. I think like you have to be prepared. If you want to compete, you want to step in the arena, you got to be prepared not only to lose, but like sacrifice your body a little bit.
Yeah, but I would almost make that argument in most like professional level sports. I think where it starts to get a little bit gray in the combat sports is when you're competing as an amateur. I think that's where it's like a little bit interesting, right? I've had a desire to go and compete in an amateur kickboxing event. I've wanted to do it. And one of the reasons why I've told myself I don't want to go do a Muay Thai competition is like, I don't really want to get kicked in the face. And so if that's the case, then I probably shouldn't be doing it.
Well, dude, combat sports are just different.
Of course.
They're just different. Intramural basketball at your local rec center is always going to be different than a grappling tournament because there's a risk of one-on-one injury much higher. Egos get kind of inflamed. You see sometimes these horror stories from these local wrestling matches where kids punch each other at the end of matches and stuff like this. Kind of crazy, but I would love to do a full episode on like the risk versus rewards of competing.
I also genuinely wonder, like, I don't know, on the face of it, it might seem like the risk is much higher in a combat sport, but is it really? Like, how many people are getting injured from getting back into start and stop dynamic injuries when they're not training or have been out of it for a while? Like, it's been well documented, the increase in injuries, like pretty bad injuries from the rise in pickleball, right? Like so many people getting into something that seems like, oh, I'm just going to go play pickleball. Like, yeah, you're going to be competitive and you're going to start and stop very, very fast. And like that could lead to injury. I mean, the perfect example, I was just talking about this with someone the other day. Like now that I'm getting back into cycling, I remember in the past, I used to just like, I'm going to go really far. Now I stay to a very enclosed loop close to me where I know there's no traffic because biking outside on the road is incredibly dangerous. And my risk reward of doing this, even though I'm training, I do most of my training on the C2 bike, and once a week I go outside, and my once a week ride that I go outside, I do in this like 12-mile loop that I have access to that gets very, very limited car traffic, and I'm not willing to go like any further or do anything else. When I used to be into the sport before, I used to go on highways, I used to go on super transited streets just to get anywhere and get some miles in, and that changes. But I guess the larger point is I'm curious what, maybe from a statistic point of view, and maybe we can look it up really quick, like there's a risk to injury to all of these things, and it's interesting how your risk assessment changes in different stages of life, and just you can't avoid it altogether.
And your perception of it, right, Gabe? Like,
and your perception
for example,
of it, right?
Like if you had asked MDV, hey, do you feel like there's any risk in going and playing pickleball? He would be like, no, right?
Well, but I know,
right?
No,
I mean,
I know there's a risk to twisting my ankle and to rupturing my Achilles or to spraining my knee or to tweaking my shoulder. What I'm saying about jiu-jitsu and combat sports in general is like, okay, you're going to step into an MMA amateur fight. There's still a risk you're going to get knocked out. Like unless there's kiddie gloves on and there's a gentleman's agreement and there's no striking to the head, like you can get knocked out. You do a jiu-jitsu competition where one of the ways to win the match is to apply an arm bar. You could break your arm. You have to understand that. You have to. It's part of the risk of the sport.
Yeah,
it's like
being mindful of that.
Nobody's going to fucking break your arm in pickleball, bro.
Hey, Gabe, remember the woman we had on the show, and she was talking about ACL tears and periods and stuff like that. One of my buddies, his daughter just tore her ACL, and I guess it's now becoming a more prevalent conversation. Specifically, she tore hers playing soccer. Hers was soccer, but basketball is also very, very common. And so they're starting to now do studies on this about correlating women's periods to ACL tears. And I'm intrigued to wait like a year or two and see what kind of data starts coming out. But
this study had been done a while back about it was either high school aged women or college aged women with ACL tears in soccer, and the prevalence of these is much, much higher in women than men. And I think that there's probably a similar correlation between the Achilles injuries in men and the ACL injuries in women, with just like how physically the people are built and what kind of muscle they have and how they're applying it to the different types of movements, and whether or not that ligament in women, for some reason, with the amount of lower body strength when they go to move horizontally, it sometimes gives more than it does in men, for sure. But I'm interested to see this additional layer of on top, like what the hormonal stuff is doing when, obviously they have their monthly.
Yeah, they're saying like it pulls the blood from circulating as well,
Really
and
interesting.
it could create this layer. Um, Again, I'm no expert in that. I'm just very intrigued on the data, just because, and then getting ahead of it. I think from a youth sports perspective, is there anything that can be done to help get ahead of some of these things? But nonetheless, hey, we didn't get into the Pete and Bobby standards, but I am. I'm intrigued on that as well because we're working with Customs and Border Protection. We're talking a little bit about rolling out something about this, 50 pull-ups, 100 push-ups, the competition we had talked about on the show. I think in the next couple of months, I'm hoping that some standards come out from that and it gets pretty popular. And
We got to
but
put out the standards.
yeah,
I, th-
well,
I think we should put out the standards.
we should do, we should do. I don't know if it's going to be even a standard enough. I mean, we should just see how it feels. Is this a cop out? 5 strict pull-ups and 10 strict push-ups every minute for 10 minutes. Is that like the easiest thing ever? Am I tripping?
Well, let's start off. So the thing is 50 pull-ups, 100 push-ups for time, right?
Yeah.
So my standards on these would be very little shoulder or body English on the pull-up, nearly none, from a dead hang, chin over the bar, back down. You can do them fast, but you shouldn't be swinging wildly on the bar. The other standard on the push-up would be from the upright plank position. I would say chest touches the deck, but I also see that they got people doing these with like kettlebells underneath their chest and shit and bricks. I would just say from the upright plank position, shoulders and hips in a straight line, your chest touches the ground, you press back up to a locked elbow. I would like to see how quickly people can do these repetitions, 50 and 100, with good standards. That's what I would like to see.
Yeah. I might just this morning, as just because I wanted to, I did 5, 10, 15 strict for 20 minutes. I did 5 pull-ups, 10 push-ups, 15 air squats every minute for 20 minutes, just because I felt like it.
Strict Cindy
I need to get better at pull-ups. So maybe I'll film something like that too. I'd be curious, just like 5, 10, 5, 10, not even on the minute, just like being super smooth and methodical, how long it would take you with like legit positions. I bet you can get it done in 7 minutes or less.
Yeah, I mean, I moving fast through this, I think somebody who's very good at these movements could probably do it sub 5 minutes with strong standards.
Alec Blennis, who we had on the podcast, Freak, and Hunter McIntyre are training for and going to attempt a sub 30-minute Murph unpartitioned. That's going to be fun to watch. Obviously, that's skipping pull-ups, but it's legit push-ups. The standards for that is exactly what you just said. And the mile runs that you have to run to get the whole thing unpartitioned sub 30 minutes is pretty insane. So anyway, I was just thinking about the fact that I just saw
With a
videos
vest?
of training for that. With a vest, yep.
With a vest, sub 30 minutes is superhuman fast. If you're
And
Insane.
they're straight through, Gabe.
Yeah, unpartitioned, straight through.
That's incredible. Because imagine doing 100 pull-ups in a row. I mean, and then the push-ups would always be the ones that slowed me down. 200
Jason,
push-ups with the vest on.
We did this together many years back at the Navy SEAL Foundation event. Me, you, and a bunch of other people showed up at like 6 a.m. in the morning with our weight vests, and we did unpartitioned weight vest Murph before we ran that event.
Yeah, that was
And
fun.
I'll never forget it. Jason's like, we're just going to go out and run a very chill first mile. We ran a 6 minute 30-second first mile at the crack of dawn, no warm up.
Hella chill, dude. Hella chill. Hella chill.
People are dying. I think a few people didn't finish because
No, that was the time we'd have to call the ambulance for that one guy. Remember that?
oh my goodness. Yeah, that was a fun event though. Aside from that was a fun event.
Aside from that, we raised a lot of money for the Navy SEAL Foundation. That was good. Speaking of which, before we close out, I do want to make sure September is Pediatric Cancer Awareness Month. And so I'm here being the guy who's saying, be aware of it, identify, local resource. If that's something that's passionate about you, or if you or your family are going through something, reach out to us. We are happy to support. NIGU, never ever give up. NIGU.org is a phenomenal organization that we support. And we have Ava's Kitchen every single year. This year it's in March in San Jose, California. So stay tuned for that. But September is Pediatric Cancer Awareness Month, and the organization that we support is called NIGU, NEGU.org. All right, gentlemen. Well, hey, we had Gordon Ryan on the show today. Where he is, we should like take like a picture of that, and then like one of his other. He normally has like a white beard on.
Well, it worked out to get the athletic nicotine sponsorship. We're tasting victory. I'm trying to get the Jackson Chain sponsorship now for the podcast. Jason, you got to reach out to Jackson Chains.
Oh my gosh, I don't think I've ever worn.
Caden would love it. Caden be rocking it at the baseball games and everything.
Really, I've never worn a chain. I don't think since in a very long time. But yeah.
So I know we're gonna do like a full nicotine debrief in like a month, we said, but I did try it for the first time for a workout, and I did not like it. So far,
a 3 or a 1.5?
Just a 1.5. All I got sent is a 1.5, and honestly, I like that. I don't think that, at least for the uses that I have for it and that I want to share, and trying to stay within the guardrails that I want to stay within, I'm actually glad that all I have is the 1.5. But using it for the workout, I didn't want to mix it with caffeine as well, so I didn't have my usual pre-workout, and it just like I didn't enjoy the workout as much as I do when I have even just coffee or a traditional pre-workout. But so far, using it for work has been honestly like has exceeded all expectations. And again, the guardrails that I'm staying within is I do it like 2-3 times a week, like one pouch for like a dedicated 2-hour block. The one thing I will share is I have at least felt like a pretty noticeable come down after. So I can see how if you want more than 2 hours of like really being dialed in, why it would be tempting to like, hey, pop another one in and kind of like keep it going. I don't know if it's like the sensitivity I have to it.
Placebo though, because 2 hours sounds really long for one pouch.
I keep it in for 1 hour, and for 2 hours, I'm like, I'm tasting victory for 2 hours for sure, for sure.
Hey, but let's wait. I do want to keep doing your for lack of a better term, research, Gabe, because like what I'm calling, I don't want to say I'm calling bullshit on, like what I'm calling whatever on is, can you for 6 or 8 weeks or whatever do the on off thing that you talked about? And like, dude, if you can, or when you do, because it sounds like you are, like, hell yeah, let's have a conversation about that, because that's super intriguing to me. How you could take a tool that's known to be so addictive, and you're saying you could find ways to regulate it. You know, that's interesting.
Yeah, we should do a full debrief on it. It's been interesting, but yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Wait, what kind of workout did you do with it? Did you do a bodybuilding workout, or did you go out for a run?
No, so based on everything that I read, it's a vasoconstrictor. So it increases your blood pressure and actually like constricts your blood vessels a little bit. So you don't want to use it for like a traditional hypertrophy session, because you actually want vasodilation, right? Like you want a big pump, and you don't necessarily want to use it for like a run, because again, you want blood flow. From a workout perspective, what it's supposedly beneficial for, based off everything that I've been reading, is things that like require like a high CNS load. So like you want to be really focused, like really primed. So I've been doing following Flex that's on the app, and literally it lined up. It was like week 3 of the 6-4-2 waves that we've been doing on the bench press. So like building to a heavy double, I was like, perfect. I'm going to be like super dialed in, super focused, go super heavy for a double. And I just didn't feel great. And again, it could be so many different things. It could be just the fact that I didn't feel great that day anyway. But if anything, it ended up being a super disappointing session. So yeah, I didn't feel what was supposed to be the benefit from it, but I've definitely felt it on the work side. But I at least don't have any interest in using it as a workout, pre-workout, for all the reasons that I just mentioned.
Dude, I love it. All right, well, let's keep, this is what it's about. It's about learning. It's about trying different things. I appreciate everybody listening to the show. Simple ask. Leave the show a rating and review. I know a lot of people are watching us now on Spotify. It's interesting to watch the numbers go from Apple to Spotify. Now that you can watch it on the show. Leave a rating, leave a review, share with a friend. Appreciate all you guys. Make sure to check out the podcast show notes for a link to the greatest training app on the planet, the Train Hard app. Keep getting after it.